Hello! Today we are here to discuss River of Gold. So this was a post-Gen Con. Well, it was released at Gen Con, but I had pre-ordered it from our local game shop before we left. So this is a kind of a, I don't know if I call it a worker placement. I guess it's kind of a worker placement, sort of. It's set in the Legend of Five Rings universe, but before we get any further into that discussion, let's hit that subscribe button the notification bell so you guys can join along with us. Unless you've already hit it, then don't hit it again.
Right.
All right. So, Rob, what can you tell us about River of Gold?
So, definitely a 2024 release. Overall rank is 3,196 with a rating of 7.5. 2 to 4 players, 60 to 90 minutes. I think we played it quite a bit longer ourselves for 3 players. Ages 14 and up, designed by Keith Piggott. I apologize if I mispronounced that. And Francesca Barral did the art, published by Office Dog. I think this is the first game I ever heard of from Office Dog.
Yeah, I've not heard of it.
I've not heard of that.
Or Naughty Dog, but they make video games.
Yeah, they make the video games. But very impressive if this is their first game out there. And I couldn't find a true MSRP price. I only saw Amazon and Card House had both the same price of $49.99.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming that's the MSRP as well.
All right, so let's talk about the quality of components. Now, this is a retail release, but yet the board has...
It does not look like a retail release board.
Really beautiful board. We'll get into that more on theme, but it's a nice, solid, oversized board, and it's a table hog, the board. Other than that, it doesn't take a lot of table space.
Not really.
You've got little player mats. These could have been nicer. They do have a nice texture, though. They got a linen finish on them, and they're really nice quality card stock, but it's still a card stock instead of a board.
The player cards are very shiny, no texture to them at all, and not too terribly thick, so I would highly recommend sleeving these cards up.
Doesn't make a lot of sense when they did the card stock with the linen finish for the boards. The components are cardboard. The money is actually pretty good thickness. But
for cardboard, yeah.
But then when you get to the actual components, are they the same thickness?
I think everything is the same thickness.
Oh, okay.
Yep, everything is.
But the
resources
feel like thinner.
Yeah,
but yeah. The resources are kind of lame. I was a little disappointed in those. The sun, I like the suns. They got these little chips for your. They're kind of see-through,
like a glass bead.
Yeah. And then you've got a moon that kind of is your stopper for your sun, which is kind of a cool concept.
Yeah, it's a neat idea.
You
got the big chunky wooden boats, but they're not they're not print screened or anything like that.
But they are customized for
for the player. So that's pretty cool. You got the big chunky dice. Each person gets their own dice, and it looks like a heat transfer dice, so it looks like it'll last forever. That's about it. And then you got player discs, which are just very standard little wooden discs.
Yeah, you get a lot of those because you're going to be playing them all over the board.
All based on player color. And then the other cardboard elements are all about the same thickness and quality.
Yeah, but they do have a linen finish on those as well. So, all in all, I think it did a nice job for a retail release on the components of this. I mean, the board in particular is outstanding. I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I think, a 7.5. I think the enhanced, customized bolts and the board merit that. The cardboard detracts a bit, in my opinion. I think I might have some of those upgrade components for the...
Yeah, I was thinking if any of the Stonemaier components might fit for this.
Because I know I've got the tapestry, with the silk that could be used, and the rice. I don't know about the porcelain. I probably have that, though. So, all right, so moving on.
Do I not get to score it?
I thought you scored it.
Kind of mean.
Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I thought I'll do 7.5, just like you.
You're just going to go 7.5?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, again, the board is the highlight. Everything else is pretty standard.
Okay. Moving on to theme, the gold trim on this board, it just makes it pop.
It's the river Rokugan in the Legend of the Five Rings universe, if you're familiar with that. But yeah, it just really just really kind of just wow.
Yeah.
It's just I'm going to look at that because it just really grabs the eye.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of gold trim
Yeah.
around it as well.
And a little bit on each of the player areas. There's the gold coin that's also got like that gold leaf, I guess, is kind of look to it. But it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and especially when the light hits it,
Yeah,
it just
right.
shines.
Because I mean, it's even got like this waterfall of
Yeah.
the river with that gold leaf. That's really neat.
Yeah, I was impressed when I got the game
For
out,
sure.
and that was the first thing that just caught my eye immediately.
Yeah, this has definitely got some table presence.
Yeah, I mean, even though isn't like a lot of 3D to it, it's just
You don't need it.
But the board is just so beautiful. The cards art is really beautiful as well. It's the same for each type of.
Because you got like artisans, nobles, and all that we'll talk about, but the art for the artisans are always the same.
Yeah.
So the context of the card will be different, but the art itself.
Yeah, and then each player board has their own art as well.
Based off of their ship and their clan faction or symbol.
Yeah. So, as far as the theme, I mean, you feel like you're going down the river. That definitely is a good key component of this game. But, other than that, you've got some track movement and you've got kind of, the buildings don't look like buildings. They got pictures of buildings and stuff on them, but
right.
They're, they're very functional, but they don't really have anything.
Yeah, thematically.
Feel,
And then same thing going up these influence tracks. You got influence of these 6 factions in the Five Rings world. And I mean, it's a neat element to the game, but thematically, it doesn't feel like you're getting influence. You're just going up a track.
Yeah. So, as far as, engrossing you in the gameplay, there's, apart from the going down the river, there's not a whole lot that blends in with the game. But you won't really care because the art is so outstanding on it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7.5 here too. I think
7.5 is a good score. I think that if the mechanics fit the theme a little bit better, I would have definitely went up a little bit higher.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to the rule book. So when I first got this out, I thought it was going to be a beast to learn, but this is actually probably a light to medium game.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, if you played Lords of Waterdeep, in my opinion, this kind of is going to have some of those elements to it, but no attacking. That's the thing. There's nothing. Anything you do is going that might. Not really hurt, but if you use other people's buildings, they get a benefit too.
Well, and then you're usually going to build on the cheapest sites, so then that means that when it's my turn to build, I might have to build on a more expensive site.
Yeah.
But that's really all the player interaction there is. It's just a little bit of blocking.
Or taking the building that they want.
Which he did that to me a bunch.
Yeah. So the rule book is, looks like it's 16 pages, the first page being just a cover that matches, well, it doesn't really match, it matches kind of the background of the board a little bit.
Well, it's definitely the same art style, it looks like it's the same world for sure, so I like that part.
Yeah. It has the components pictured, like the way we like, as far as
the layout.
Yeah, the layout and the count. And then it's got the map kind of going over the board and the features of the board, because that is definitely central to the game. How to set up. The setup doesn't really take that long. They got nice packaging within the actual box, and it's all like gold.
Oh yeah, I loved the board, but the first thing that caught my eye was when you open it up and the insert. It's like also this bright gold insert. It's like wow.
Yeah. So, and it holds all the pieces pretty well. The only complaint I have with the way it's holding them is there's a different count for phase 1 versus phase 2 building tiles, but they have 4 slots to put them in, so you have to mix some of your phase 1 and 2s because there's no way
it would fit them all in.
It would fit them all in the 4 different slots. So, yeah, you'll have to parse some of them out. I'm not sure if the cards will fit with sleeves either. I haven't tested that yet. Then it's got the player board set up. The player boards are actually really cool. They got on one side the actual gameplay, but the other side has kind of the faction history.
Yeah, a little bit of lore in it. And the cheat sheet card is very functional as well. It's pretty simple, but it's got everything you need to know. because once you learn the rules of the game, this just really helps.
Yeah, it's got all the iconography there. You've got basically the turn overview, and turns are very basic. There's you
really three
decide
things.
to spend your divine favor, which is we'll get into gameplay, but it basically alters the value of the die to whatever number you want it to be, plus or minus by subtracting and spending that, and then you take your different actions, which are we can
pretty
go
basic.
over. Yeah, they're very basic actions. And then you claim masteries at the end. If there's basically kind of during game bonuses that you can acquire if you're the first to get them. And then it goes through all the different the card types that you've got and how they work. And then the Emperor's Visit, which is the halfway point of the game, if you will, and then the game end, and the scoring. And then there's a little blurb about the different there's only one mini expansion, which is there's basically faction cards that you can apply that give you a special ability.
Kind of gave some asynchronicity to the game.
The only thing is,
but it was confusing.
well, it looked like some of them didn't balance well.
Yeah, so I got 2 and he got 2, and the 2 I looked like, for a 2-player game anyway, looked like they were really underwhelming.
Yeah.
And
this is 2 to 4. I would recommend this for 3 to 4 better than 2. 2 is not bad.
Yeah, it was I really enjoyed it at 2-player, but I could definitely see it would be so much better with a higher player.
Yeah. So, and then it's got kind of a little map of the world that just kind of goes through the lore of each of the different regions on the board, which is really cool. And then, of course, the credits section, and then on the back is the full iconography. It's pretty easy to read through, and once you got the basic concept, especially if you've played games like Waterdeep, it's going to be easy to transition.
It was easy to teach too, because he didn't read the rulebook. He literally talked about the 3 steps we'll get about in gameplay, and the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. So,
and all that is on your card, and, and on your player board. So
I was impressed with everything.
Yeah, I think they did an excellent job with the rules. I'm probably going to give this one. Honestly, I don't think there's anything to take off for. I'm going to give it a 10.
Okay. Yeah, it was so easy to learn. So.
Yeah. All right, moving on to gameplay. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to start with one resource of each type. You have silk, rice, and porcelain, which are represented with tokens that are pink, kind of greenish, and blue.
Right.
And then you're going to start with a variable amount of money based on turn order. So 7 for the first player, and it goes up by $1 for each additional player. You're going to have a specific amount of buildings in each level 1 and phase 1 and phase 2 of the game based upon player count. And
there'll be some buildings already in play based off of the region.
Assuming that's also based on player count.
Yeah, but there'll be some at least.
Yeah, the green ones will always be there, I think. But any of the other ones, it depends on how many players you got. If you've got 4 players, none of them will be there.
Okay.
And then you've also got basically a randomized scoring that is applied to each one of the different.
So what I didn't see, are there more of these?
No, there's just those.
All right,
6.
so it's random on the 6.
Yeah.
Where they're placed, but you have the same 6.
Yeah, it's always the same 6.
Got it.
And there are 6 different mastery cards.
Okay. So a little variety.
So so you will end up with playing with just 3 of them per game. So you'll have some variety there. And then you're going to have 2 of the cards, the customer cards dealt to you. And basically these customers want you to sell them specific goods.
Right.
And you
and
have
then they provide some perks
at a specific location as far as your die roll in order to cash them in. So the different actions after you roll your die at the end of your turn to set up for the next turn, so you can kind of plan your strategy for what you're planning on doing, although you're obviously going to be impacted potentially by what other players do to some extent. But you can start making your plans after you roll. When your turn comes, the first thing you're going to do is potentially spend some of your sun power to adjust your die roll, and it goes up or down by 1 for each sun you spend.
Right, but everything you can do is based off of the number.
Yeah,
so
the die
very
is
important,
critical.
Yeah, so it really will determine what you can do and where you can do it.
Yep. So now the die does wrap. So if you're at 6 and you add 1, it becomes a 1.
or vice versa.
Right. So then, but this sun is capped wherever your moon is. So in order, there's some of the customer cards will let you increase the moon level, so you can go up higher. Honestly, I didn't ever do that. I don't think.
I found the cards that let me do it,
Yeah.
but the benefits of what they gave me versus what some of the other cards I had.
Exactly.
I was like, they're cool, but they're not as cool as the other stuff.
Yeah,
So.
I never found a need to spend that much sun that I would need that much to carry over. So I didn't find those customers to be that useful. But basically, you can do, after you that, you have 3 choices of actions. You can build, and build is in the region for whichever faction that you matches your die. So in this case, I have a 1. So any of the spots that are in the 1 area, I can build a building. The buildings are down here in the offering that I can choose from. So one of these 4 here. I pay the cost that's printed on the board in coin to the bank, and then I think it's called, is it Goku? I believe they call it, but it's coin. And then you take one of these buildings and you apply it and put it in that location, and it's got a ability for anyone who lands on the space. They get the ability, and that kind of has the arrow pointing to it. But then the backside, you get anytime somebody visits that, including you. So
if you land on it, you get both.
Yeah, and then in the middle, it's got a influence count, which can range from 0 to 5. I think.
Yeah, 5 is the most I saw.
So you put your marker on it, you put it on that location, and then you go up on the track by the number of influence there.
And I do want to point out, I thought it was really nice that every faction has its own little logo. So if you look at the building section, that logo is on there. So it's both color coordinated, but also if you have a hard time with color, you can look at the faction symbol, and that'll tell you where you can build as well. I think that's a nice little addition.
And even if you don't have color interpretation issues with low lighting, the red and the orange look very similar.
That's true too. But yeah, that actually helped a lot for me.
Yeah.
So
that's building. Then you've got movement. So movement, you've got 2 ships that are on your river in your faction. And at the beginning of the game, you've got 2 basic boats. There's customers that let you upgrade one of your boats, and
the nobles
that you can add powers to your ship with. But you move however many your die roll says. So in this case, 1. I move. And I get to, there's 4 points connecting to each location.
Right.
I get to trigger all the buildings associated with those. So if there's not a building there, it's got a coin printed on it. So you get
at a minimum,
coin.
You'll get a money.
Yeah, so at a minimum, you'll get 4 money each time you move. But if there's a building there, you'll get whatever's pictured. So in this case, I would get a money. This gives you 5 money. This gives me 2 influence in the track that's associated, which is 6.
Yep.
And this one gives me a silk, and I also can draw and replace one of my customer cards. You can only have 2 at any given point. You always will have 2, even if you play 1, which we'll get to. But also, since I own 2 of these buildings, I would get the back side of them. So this gives me 2 victory points, and this one gives me a sun.
Or a divine favor.
Divine favor, okay.
But it is a sun.
Yeah. So, each time you move, you're going to get those abilities. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to get a lot more coin, because that's what, there's going to be a lot of
And you need it because you have to build. Because if you don't build, you're going to lose out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, building is key to this, because that's also going to influence the tracks, which the tracks are probably, I'd say, 50 to 60% of your scoring potential.
There's that, and you miss out on getting a lot of good stuff when other people land on that spot. That's where I could definitely feel the higher player count would really, ramp that part up.
Yeah. Not to mention the tracks also are usually some of the cards that are in the mastery are going to tie to those tracks. So it's probably even higher than 60%.
Right.
Getting buildings in play is very important, but it costs a lot of money as you build out. At first, there's some open spots that are 5 cost or whatever.
Yeah, 6 I think is the cheapest, but
no, there's 5s.
Is there 5s?
Yeah, there's 5 right here.
But they go all the way up to 13.
Yeah. So yeah, you're going to be potentially spending a lot of.
And there's a way to mitigate it, which we'll get into, but it's not by much.
Yeah. All right, so that's movement. So then the last action is going to do fulfilling a customer order,
Which is the card in your hand.
So whatever number you add, you have to have a card that matches that number. So in this case, it's a 1. I didn't have any cards that were a 1, but I could pay the sun to make this, and I turned the die to a 2. And I did have a 2 card, which I could play. So in this case, I could play this Elder if I had 2 silk, 2 rice, and a porcelain. So I cash those resources in. I get to put this card in play, and it has a one-time effect, potentially an ongoing effect, and potentially an in-game scoring effect. In this case, I get to place a clan marker on the doubler space on one of the tracks. In this case, it's the tree track, which is the 2, because that's where the number is. So I would put the doubler there, and then I would now, at the end of the game, if I get victory points from that track, I get to double the points at the end from that bonus.
And in a 2-player game, you're guaranteed some points.
No, not necessarily.
Well, not on the last one, but
you have to be within 5 of the person,
which is an interesting concept of the game. You would think that usually if you overrun a track, that there's some kind of negative to balance it out, but there's really not. So if you're in second place and you're more than 5 spaces, you're screwed.
Yeah, you just don't get any points for that. Although the second place bonus is not that great.
It's not that great, but it's still some.
Yeah. If you're playing the other side, the victory points are much higher for first place. So, you
could run away even more.
Oh yeah, there's like 12 points.
Especially with that doubler. Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah. So I had 2 doublers down, and I was able to, but I still lost to you.
Yeah, but if you had had that extra turn or 2 like you wanted, that would have made all the difference in the world for you.
So, that's one of the things I did like about this is that you can't just run away with one strategy. Like you had a strategy where you built up your boat and assigned you want more additional powers to your boat.
Because usually you have an ongoing ability and that card's by itself. It doesn't affect anything. But with this special upgraded boat, they all stack.
All right, so basically you replace your boat with this royal boat, and the royal boat then gets all these attributes assigned to it, and as you can stack them, as Rob was mentioning, and once you do that, every time you move that royal boat, you get all of those benefits.
And it was very beneficial. I got to raise influence for each adjacent faction wherever that boat was, and I think that made the difference because it caught me up with him because he was racing along, and then I was able to get caught up just based off of moving that boat. So that's mostly what I did. And so but there's other cool stuff too, and there's in-game scoring based off of it too. Yeah. So it just is very cumulative and stacks up really well.
I mean, I had 2 of the 3 masteries, and was leading in every track pretty much on the board. And by the end, you managed to tie me and take the lead in a few of the tracks. And that really cost me. There was one of my doublers you tied me on, which made my points go down. Right. And that would have been the difference.
That would have been a difference. Yeah, that alone would have won you the game.
Right. So I mean, it's one of these games where there's lots of different approaches you can take to winning, and I like that.
I do too.
I don't think there's really anything I don't like about this game. I mean, I like all the mechanics of it. I like the fact that it reminds me of Waterdeep, but without the attacking cards. I don't mind the attacking cards in Waterdeep, except for if you have Open Lord, which to me breaks the game. In this case, they just take that all out. So people like Miranda, who just don't like attack games at all,
would like this a lot more.
I think she would like this. She hasn't got a chance to play it yet.
I really like how it does mitigate some of the luck.
Yeah.
So I like how you can use Divine Favor to affect the die roll, because I had to use that quite a bit because it was, depending on what I rolled, I wasn't in the area I needed to be, because that's a neat element of the game, is if I build, it doesn't matter where my ship is, it's based off of what the die is. Mm-hmm. So I could be way down here and still build at the 1 or 2. And I like that element as well, because it you don't see it coming.
Yeah, well, I used, because I kept rolling 6s or 1s, and I'm like, well, I need 4s and 3s.
Right.
So I ended up not using the sun, and I would just use those opportunities to move my boats to get them to the positions. Now, sometimes I couldn't get the silk that I wanted because it was kind of in the middle of the board, and I wasn't in the right spots where I could land on that. Or the porcelain, those I was the two I kept struggling with. I had tons of rice. I could never do.
Yeah, you had a lot of rice. He was always eating rice.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, it's just you got to kind of alter your strategy sometimes based on the die roll, or else you got to spend all that sun. And I'd rather preserve it for those times when I needed to make those alterations. Yeah, I could always build. That was the thing, is no matter what you roll, you can always build in the area.
One other element we didn't talk about is when you go down the river, it resets itself.
Yeah.
Once you go past the very last one, then it speeds up the game because you got to trash the very first of your buildings. So you're on. That's how the game ends, is once all these are out on the board, and then you get your choice of 3-coin or a resource of your choice.
Yep.
And so we did that a lot,
yeah.
And that sped the game up quite a bit.
And there's also abilities that you can start triggering by having a token at the bottom of the river that some of the customers will provide. So that
that's cool. I didn't see those.
Yeah, when you cycle back through, it'll give you a perk every time you pass there. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different things you can do with those customer cards. You just want to play the right ones. Not to mention, you get points at the end of the game for up to 6 customer cards that you've played. And I've not... 4 is the most I've been able to play. I have not been able to get close to 6.
Yeah, I didn't. I think
you had the same as I did.
Yeah, I
Both had 4. So, the game will end almost faster than you want it to, but I still think it's the right length for this game.
Yeah, I felt it was a little short, but it was still very satisfying.
Yeah. You can really alter how long the game lasts by just lapping.
Yeah.
Because I think you were driving the end of the game because
I really
of
was.
the fact that you're moving your boat so much.
Yeah, the last half of the game, I built a little bit, but I really focused on moving my boat and getting all those noble abilities.
So as far as a score on this, I think I'm about a 9 on it.
I think I am too. I was thinking 9 is a really good score, and I think the only thing that would make it better is the components.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that you could maybe add on some, I think there's probably some expansions.
I could definitely see, getting better, getting more, not necessarily better, but mastery cards, more cards to this deck, because it's not that thick of a deck. So just having more there would definitely add some gameplay and some variety to it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think more buildings is necessary, so I think that was fine. I think that, expansion-wise, it'd be maybe component upgrades and just more cards.
Yeah. All right, well, that's our thoughts on River of Gold. If you've had a chance to play it, let us know what you think. Or if you've actually,
I liked it enough. I liked it enough. I ordered it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, wow. So if you've ever been to a River of Gold,
let us know where it's at.
Yeah, so we can avoid it. Because I don't want to swim in that gold.
Well, no,
river.
I just want to collect the gold and sell it.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of a different reason it might be gold. So I don't want to be swimming in that river. So all right. So if you have any thoughts on the game, let us know what they are. Comments right below. And until next time, you guys keep on sailing, and we'll keep on playing.
Sailing away.
All right. Bye.